we have formulas, or I should say equations, for parabolas that are shifted. You can see y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, and x equals a times y minus k squared plus h. Question is, what's the vertex? Do you remember? HK. An ellipse had that type of an equation. You can see it's kind of similar to the parabola. There's a squared, there's an h, there's a k, there's an a, there's a y. Its center was HK. And then we had that hyperbola. Well, the hyperbola is really similar to the ellipse, isn't it? It's super similar. It's just got the minus sign, right? So, and that center was HK. So the big question is, how do you tell them apart if they look like this? 9x squared minus 72x minus 16y squared minus 32y equals 16. That's either a parabola, an ellipse, or a hyperbola, or a circle. How do we even know? We are going to put it in standard form, but we should have a goal in mind. We should either have this goal in mind, this goal in mind, or that goal in mind. So let's look at what makes these different. How is the parabola unique from the other two? You're going to have x and y squared, or you're going to have y and x squared, but they're not both going to be squared, are they? That is the key difference between parabolas and the other two. An ellipse, you're going to have x squared and y squared, or y squared and x squared, but they're both going to be squared, and they're both going to be positive. How is that different from a hyperbola? You have x squared and negative y squared, or y squared and negative x squared. Okay. So let's look at this. Is this going to be a parabola? Why is it not going to be a parabola? Because you got two squares. Is it going to be an ellipse? No, because one of them is negative. So therefore, it's going to be a hyperbola. So I know my goal. That's my goal. Let's complete the square and see what we get. I factor out a 9 for the x's. What should we factor out for the y's? A negative 16. And I get y squared plus 2. What do we add to complete the square? Hey, I didn't just add 16. I added 16 times 9, which is 144. Sorry. You did 9 times 15. That's good. What do I add to complete the square here? So a minus 16. So now we have 9 times x minus 4 minus 16 times squared divided by 144. I get x minus 4 quantity squared over 16 minus y plus 1 quantity squared over 9 is equal to 1. Is that now in standard form for a hyperbola? It is. So now that's the part that's new today, folks. That's why I didn't do a checkpoint, because today we're going to look at a hyperbola, a parabola, and an ellipse. Let's now graph it. I need the center. I need the vertices. I need the length of the transverse axis. I need the asymptotes. I need the foci. And don't put the foci too close to the asymptotes because we won't ever. Very good. All right, what's the center? 4, -1. What would be my next step after I identify the center from yesterday? Make what? What do we call it? Ghost box. Yeah, make my ghost box. So I'm going to go 4 units in the x direction and 3 units in the y. Well, 4 units in the x direction, that means I'll go all the way out to 8. So I'm going to make a 10 by 10 graph. So I'm going to plot 4, -1. As I make my ghost box, how many units do I go in the x direction? In the y direction? 3. And I draw my box. What's the next step that you need to take in order to draw an accurate graph? Draw my asymptotes through the diagonals. You can see how the box really helps me kind of get the overall construction rather quickly. Is this parabola going to open up side to side or up and down? Why up and down? X is positive, so therefore it's going to open side to side. So therefore the vertices sit on the side of the box. Which, by the way, Mr. Durbin said you guys were very well behaved yesterday. Said you looked like you were motivated learners. Oh, good times. All right. What are the vertices? 0, -1. 8, -1. Length of the transverse axis. 8. What two things do I need to write an equation for the asymptotes? What's the point on the line? What is the slope? Look at the box. I just look at the box. I say the box has a rise of 3 and a run of 4. Right? Okay. So therefore I have y minus y1 or plus 1 is equal to plus or minus 3/4 times x minus 4. No. Just leave it point slope form. Otherwise, you'd have to write two separate equations, and that's just a waste of time right now. Okay, foci. How do I find foci? I got to find what value? C. How do I find it? A squared plus b squared is c squared. A squared is 16. B squared is 9. C is 5. So I move 5 units in each direction. So the location of the foci would be -1, -1, and 9, -1. Are we good? Sure. Grace, you may do that. I would caution you that I feel like when people actually write the location, they're less likely to make a mistake. So as long as you feel confident that you're not going to do this, then you're fine. But people will do that very consistently and get it wrong because it's shifted, so it can't just be that. We got to take into account the center, right? Okay, flip it over. Don't answer when I ask. Don't answer. Don't answer when I ask. Just answer inside your brain. Is this a hyperbola, a parabola, or an ellipse? Now you can answer. It is a parabola. Why? Yeah. Is this going to be a y equals or an x equals? Y equals. So let's complete the square. Completing the square is going to go pretty quick here. What do we add to complete the square? 4. So my x's are already gathered together for me. I just add that 4. And now I have x minus 2 quantity squared is equal to 8y minus 28. You already told me I'm going to be solving for y. And so I get, oh yes, thank you. So x minus 2 squared, so I get a negative 24, so I add the 24. And what do I do after that? Divide by the 8, so I have y equals 1/8 x minus 2, y squared, plus 3. So that's the new part. Everything we do after this is review, right? So that's the new part of your learning. Parabola, I'm going to need the direction, vertex, axis of symmetry, focus, directrix, length of the lattice rectum. We know what you were. So, all right. Direction, vertical or horizontal? It's gonna go up. Yep. Vertice or vertex. 2, 3. Now, I can see that the p-value is 2, and so the length of the lattice rectum will be 8. So I'll need to go 4 units in each direction. So if you can't see that, then you might have to fill out some other pieces first, but an 8 by 8 graph will suffice. So I'm doing an 8 by 8 graph. I've yet to make a perfect parabola in the other classes. I'm going to try to do it today. Hunter and Andrew, do you guys remember this from last year? Good time. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Conic sections misses you as well. All right, so over 2 and up 3. Axis of symmetry, vertical or horizontal? Vertical. What's the equation for the axis of symmetry? X equals 2. How do I find the focus? What value do I have to identify for these last 3? P, and I know that A, or 1A, is equal to 1 over 4P. So 4P is equal to 8. P is equal to those. Spanish for 2. Okay, so P is equal to 2. What do I do with that? Now I have my P value. What do I do with it? Okay, add it to the K value. So I move up P units, and that is my what? Focus point, and that is a location of 2, 5. Then I move down 2, and is that a point or a line? What's it called? The directrix. It has an equation of y equals 1. How do I determine the length of the lattice rectum? Absolute value 4p, which is 8. What do I do with that? 4 in each direction. Thank you, Jackson. And Rowan? Jackson, just feel like she tries to steal your thunder? All right, so there we go. I'm going to try to draw my perfect parabola. I'm going to try. I failed all the other hours. No, nobody even claps. Oh my gosh, whatever. That's it. I'm going to draw a name out of a hat on Friday, and one of you are going to have to try to do it. What? All right. Okay, so when we do the last one here, okay, just something I've recognized as well, you guys. It doesn't matter whether you're third hour or sixth hour or first hour people. Overall, you've improved towards second semester in terms of asking and answering questions. Okay, sometimes first hour got really, really quiet, and it's important to speak up. So, you guys have never been, but you're sixth hour. That's part of the difference. Yeah, Chris just always knew what he was doing. There was never an issue. Okay, so. Oh, very good. Yeah, exactly. It's just like Chris take care of it all. All right. This problem right here. Ellipse, hyperbola, or parabola? And don't, why is it an ellipse? Both positive. Very good. Both are squareds and both are positive. Good. Light bulb just went off for Will. Will, can you tell us what just clicked for you? Tell us what clicked for you. Yeah, we can have negatives and positives that sit inside the equation as a whole, but we're specifically wondering about the x squared. It's very good. So I'm going to take out a 2. Now what? 9, which is really 18. 9, which is really 9. 9. What's it equal to? 1, which raises great concern for me on your part, folks, because nobody's asked the question yet. And I know you had a problem just like it in your second assignment. What's this being divided by? 1. We haven't had one where you're multiplying by something instead of divided by something. No. Multiplying by 2 is the same as dividing by. So I believe you had an assignment where you were doing ellipses, and you had something like 4 times x minus 3 Conic squared over 5. And the question was, how do you handle the 4/5? Well, it's x minus 3 Conic squared over 5/4. Like, you know, we can deal with fractions, and so that's a learning point for you, okay? If you haven't investigated that, you should. I think it's right in your ellipsis problems. I bet if you look back, you'll find one. Because my brain is ticking that for the past 7 years, I've always had some students who have said, hey, what do we do about that? I didn't have that this year, so I'm thinking you missed it, okay? I got an ellipse. I need the center. I need the vertices. I need the length of the major axis. I need the length of the minor axis. I need the foci. And I need the eccentricity. Here we go. Center. I'm going to start sketching my ellipse. How many units do I go in the y direction? 1. How many units do I go in the x direction? What is the square root of 1/2? That's 1 over the root of 2, right? Yeah, so root of 2 over 2, which is approximately 0.7071 units. It doesn't come out real pretty, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Without a doubt, you need to be prepared to have an irrational number. Yes. Okay. So if I have to go 1 unit in the y direction, then for sure a 4x4 graph is going to be enough, isn't it? That's what I'm going to do. This is always one of my worst shapes throughout the entire year. I do a horrible job here, but I'm going to try to step up my game for you guys. Got 3, -3. Go up 1. Go down 1. Go over 0.7. Over 0.7. That's not too bad. All right. Good recovery from third hour. Third hour is bad. It was really bad. It's embarrassing. Okay, now I can identify the vertices. Are the vertices on the top and bottom, or are they on the sides? Top and bottom. Which would be? Very good, Wiz. Thank you. Well, if it's stretched more vertically, then they're on top and bottom. If it's stretched more side to side, then it's on side to side. What's the length of the major axis? 2. Good recovery. What's the length of the minor axis? Okay, it's twice that, right? Which is the square root of 2. Now, if you wrote 1.41, that's fine. Okay. What do I do to find the foci? What value do I need to find that I don't know yet? C. What's the formula for C? A squared minus B squared. A squared is 1. B squared is a half. We've already done that, haven't we? Then square root of 2 over 2. So I'm going to go 0.7071 units. Do I go vertically or horizontally? Vertically, because it's along the major axis. Very good. So did that change the x value of the center or the y value of the center? Change the y value. So my x value remains 3. My y value is -3 plus or minus the root of 2 over 2. Root of 1/2 is not in simplest radical form. You have an irrational denominator, which we don't want. Right? Must rationalize the denominator. Mr. Gantz is picky. All right. Eccentricity, what's my formula? C divided by A. Good job. What's C? Yep, root of 2 over 2. What's A? 1. What's root of 2 over 2 divided by 1? I'd offer a different place for you to sit, but there's no seats. So, all right, good work, everybody. Okay, so we reviewed all 3 shapes and we introduced how to put them in the appropriate form. Okay, so your homework assignment is at the end of your homework cover sheet. You don't have any more homework assignments for this unit. You just have those 4. Furthermore, the next day we have class will be a day to work on your study guide, or a day to work on your homework. The day after that will be a day to work on your study guide. Now, I would really encourage you, folks, don't come to class working on 9.1 and 9.2. But do come to class working on this assignment. This would be a great assignment to spend some time in class for me to help you. But 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, those are really ones you want to try to work through on your own. And then come to class ready to work on the study guide. Okay?